How to play the game of Dominion. Dominion is a deck-building game. In most card games, there is one deck of cards in the center of the playing area that each player draws from and discards two. In Dominion, however, each player will be responsible for maintaining his or her own deck of cards over the course of the game. Drawing from it, adding to it, discarding, and reshuffling when necessary. The more valuable your deck of cards becomes, the greater your chances are of winning the game. The playing cards of Dominion consist of three different types: treasure cards, victory cards, and action cards. The bottom left corner of every card displays its cost, the number of coins required to buy that card. For example, copper cards are free. Silver cards cost 3 coins each. An estate victory card costs 2 coins, while a province victory card costs 8. The 10 different action cards used in any particular game also range in price. The coins you use to buy cards originate from treasure cards. Each copper card generates 1 coin, a silver card provides 2 coins, and a gold card is worth 3 coins. During the game, the victory cards have no real value. But at the end of the game, the player with the most victory points wins. This introduces an interesting dilemma. If you purchase victory cards early in the game, you will end up drawing useless cards that do nothing to help you acquire more cards. If you wait too long to purchase victory cards, you may find that the game ends before you've had a chance to accumulate the victory points you need to win. Action cards provide you with special abilities you can use during your turn. For instance, they may allow you to draw additional cards, play additional actions, buy an extra card, get some extra coins, and do other special things. These 10 action cards vary from one game to the next, so you're always faced with a new challenge each time you play. So how do you know when the game is over? The game ends when the province pile is emptied, or 3 other piles in the supply are emptied. At that time, players tally their victory point cards to determine the winner. Each player's starting deck consists of the same 10 cards, 7 coppers, and 3 estates. That's 7 coins worth of buying power to purchase additional cards, and 3 victory points. Before beginning the game, the players shuffle their decks and draw a hand of 5 cards from the top of their deck. Now you're probably wondering, how do I actually play the game? Well, your turn consists of 4 phases performed in the following order. The action phase, during which you can play 1 action card. The buy phase, during which you can buy 1 card from the supply using the treasure cards in your hand. Even though you'll be using your treasure cards as money to buy a new card, you still get to keep the treasure cards in your deck for use in subsequent turns. The cleanup phase, which involves discarding all of the cards drawn, played, and bought during that turn. This includes any action cards that you played, any new cards that you bought, treasure cards you used to buy the new card, and the cards in your hand that you didn't use during that turn. And finally, the draw phase, during which you draw 5 new cards for your next hand. It's important that you understand Dominion's action card shorthand. You always do what an action card says in the order that it's written. Let's look at the market card. +1 card. This means you draw 1 card immediately. Some action cards may provide +2 cards, +3 cards, and so forth. +1 action. This grants you the ability to play another action card from your hand this turn. It may be an action card that was in your hand at the beginning of your turn, or it may be an action card that you drew from your deck as a result of a +1 card from this card or from a different action card. Some cards may offer +2 actions. Actions are cumulative, so if you play 2 +2 action cards in a row, you will have 3 additional actions remaining. Any unused actions in a turn are lost. +1 buy. This allows you to purchase an additional card during the buy phase. Like plus actions, plus buys are also cumulative. So if you play 2 +1 buy action cards, you will be able to buy 3 cards during your buy phase. That is, assuming you have enough coins to do so. +1 coin. This will grant you 1 extra coin to be used during the buy phase. Some cards grant you +2 coins, +3 coins, or more. These coins are cumulative, and they're only available during the current turn. Let's watch a sample game to see how it all works. The players are Sally, Larry, and Alex. It was randomly decided at the beginning of the game that Sally would play first. Sally secretly examines her 5-card hand. She drew 3 copper cards and 2 estate cards. Since no player has any action cards at the beginning of the game, there's nothing to do during the action phase during the first couple of turns. So now it's Sally's buy phase. She can buy 1 card from the supply. She plays her 3 copper cards, worth 3 coins, in front of her, and she uses them to buy a workshop. She won't be able to use it now, but in a future turn she'll be able to play it during her action phase. It will let her get a card from the supply that costs no more than 4 coins, in addition to whatever she may choose to buy during that turn. Note that any cards you gain, either as the result of an action or a buy, go directly to your discard pile unless something tells you to do otherwise. It's time for Sally's cleanup phase. She takes any cards remaining in her hand, and the cards she played in front of her, and she places all of them into her discard pile. Finally, she draws the remaining 5 cards in her deck. This will make up her hand for her next turn. It's now Larry's turn. His starting hand isn't quite as good as Sally's. He drew 2 coppers and 3 estates. Again, he doesn't have an action to play, so he plays his 2 copper cards, worth 2 coins, and elects to buy a cellar. During a subsequent turn, he'll be able to use this card to replace some cards in his hand with new cards drawn from his deck, and play an additional action card if he has one. Like Sally, he now discards all of the cards in play during his turn, and he draws a new 5-card hand. Alex's hand consists of 4 coppers and 1 estate. Alex thinks his future lies in silver. He plays 3 of his 4 copper cards and buys a silver. He discards all of his cards and draws a new hand from his deck. Round 1 is now over. It's Sally's second turn, and her hand consists of the 5 cards that remained in her starting deck, 4 copper cards and 1 estate card. She plays her 4 coppers and buys a money lender. She discards all of her cards in play. Since her deck is now empty, she shuffles all of the cards in her discard pile to form a new deck, and draws another hand of 5 cards. Larry's second hand consists of 5 copper cards. He buys a mine, reshuffles his cards, and draws a new hand. Alex's second hand contains 3 coppers and 2 estates. Once again, he decides to invest in a silver. He too shuffles and draws 5 cards. Sally's third hand contains 2 coppers, 1 estate, the workshop, and the moneylender. Since Sally's hand contains 2 action cards, she now can play one of them in her action phase. She decides to play the moneylender, which she now places in front of her. The moneylender allows her to trash a copper card, meaning to get rid of it completely. It will leave the game. In exchange for trashing the copper card, the moneylender gives her 3 extra coins to work with in her buy phase, just during this turn. The 3 coins, plus the remaining copper, give her 4 coins with which to work. She buys a remodel card, discards everything, and draws a new hand. Larry's third hand contains 3 estates, his cellar, and his mine. He notes that one of the cellar's benefits is a +1 action. Therefore, if he plays the cellar card first, he'll subsequently be able to play the mine in the same turn. So Larry plays the cellar, which allows him to discard any number of cards and draw new cards in their place. Since the estates aren't doing him any good right now, he discards those, and in return, he draws 3 coppers. Now he can play his +1 action from the cellar. He puts the mine card down in front of him. The mine is similar to the moneylender, but does it one step better. Larry can trash one of his coppers, and in its place he can gain a silver, which costs 3 coins more than the copper. Not only does he gain the silver, but he can put the card directly into his hand, which will give him an immediate benefit. It's time for Larry's buy phase. He plays his 2 coppers and his silver and can buy a card worth up to 4 coins. He elects to purchase a village. All of the cards go into his discard pile, after which he draws a new hand. There are only 4 cards in his deck, so he draws all of them, shuffles the rest, and draws 1 more card to fill his hand. And so it goes. Here are some beginner tips for Dominion. If you can buy a province worth 8 coins, it's generally in your best interest to do so. However, don't buy the last province if you know that you're behind in victory points. Buying the last province ends the game, and would therefore hand you an immediate loss. In the early part of the game, consider trashing your estate cards if you can. They're only worth 1 victory point, and they seriously clog your deck. Once half the provinces have disappeared, consider investing in duchies if you can't afford a province during a turn. If you think you only have 1 shuffle left before the game ends, and you can't afford a duchy or a province, go ahead and buy an estate. When you're nearing the end of the game, you want to amass as many victory points as possible. There's a natural tendency to want to buy copper because it doesn't cost you anything and it lets you add money to your deck. You might think that buying more copper would be a reasonable step toward buying more silver and gold. Unfortunately, you would be wrong. While there are exceptions with certain cards in play, such as the moneylender and the mine, generally speaking, you want to avoid buying free copper. It is almost always better to pass, buy nothing, and skip your buy phase than to add a copper to your deck. The reason for this is simple math. You are trying to maximize the value of the average 5-card draw from your deck. Every copper you add to your deck brings that average value closer to 5 coins. That strategy won't put any provinces in your deck. Action cards that offer you additional actions are a big plus, because they let you chain multiple actions together in one turn. Having said that, don't buy too many actions and forsake treasure. Ultimately, you do need coinage to buy cards. Just because you have 4 coins to spend in your buy phase doesn't mean you have to spend all 4 coins. If you think your deck will benefit from a particular action card that only costs 2 or 3 coins, go for it. Enjoy playing the game of Dominion.